Yes, later. How's George?
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Hey, looking good, brother. Okay.
Somewhere sunny.
Yeah, he's somewhere sunny.
Somewhere
Look
sunny.
at that picture.
Yeah, hey,
He looks pretty good.
yeah.
Santa Cruz, California.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That is not terrible.
Okay. Someone's got to be there.
Let's see. Kathy, can you hear us? We have another person on the line. Just says her mic's.
Participants on the bottom line,
I'm sorry?
participants on the bottom line.
Yeah. What? Is she? Hey, Kathy? Is she muted? You can hear me, Dan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not muted.
Is she muted?
She might be. She might be.
It's got a
She's
red
not,
over there. Why don't
but-
you click
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah, she's not muted. So we'll see, but we just have her first name.
Here's in my quick one, yeah, a couple of random typos. Yes, yes, that's all. Okay, that's okay. Nothing sudden, very much like, yeah, birth.
We ready to begin? I think so. All right, 6:31. Let's call the meeting to order. All right.
Stuff on the back of this?
Any changes to our agenda this evening? Okay,
At some point.
Two apparently.
Go ahead.
At some point, we might want to talk about the replacement.
right,
Steve.
right. And John did mention that.
And John can address that because the select board addressed that Monday night.
That's actually my suggested change to the agenda, my requested change to the agenda as well, so.
Okay, we'll probably begin with that after. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Any comments? So the minutes were quite detailed about last week's meeting. A motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
Second, so minutes are accepted. Let's, before we go to the town plan status, let's go to the need now for a representative to John. John, what can you tell us?
Sure, so Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, my timeline might be a little off. 2 weeks ago, Steve resigned as the town representative to the Two Rivers Board. I have been serving as the alternate to the board. So at the select board meeting on Monday, there was a brief discussion about me stepping up serving as the primary representative from the town. Tom Kennedy from the select board, former director of another regional planning commission, volunteered to be the alternate, but prior to taking any action, there was a suggestion to bring it back to the planning commission to see if anybody from the planning commission wanted to serve as either the primary or the alternate to the Two Rivers board.
You volunteered for that?
Well, it comes with the office, I think. Volunteer, voluntold, it's all the same.
Jobs as assigned.
Exactly.
Good Lord, you got a lot of nighttime activity going on. I certainly am supportive of that. At this point in time, I couldn't do that.
It just seemed important to bring it back to the planning commission in case someone
Yeah,
wanted to.
Yeah, it
serve.
is.
Yeah.
But there's nothing precluding us either from participating or attending in participating.
One comment that I might add is that in the long run, the relationship between the planning commission, the Two Rivers, and the select board needs to be better defined. And I think that it can be. So with that in mind, I'd like to add a caveat to John and Tom standing there. I'd like to request that the select board consider that if there is a planning commission member, current or new, who would be interested in moving into that kind of position, that the select board will entertain that nomination from this commission.
Yeah, because I believe they're one-year appointments, so it doesn't have to be we could have had the same conversation again.
Yeah.
Next year, the Wednesday after town meeting.
Can you give us more context on the definitional suggestion you made? What do you see as, I guess, the benefits or even what are the drawbacks from the understanding that's in place now?
I think what we have in place now is not well defined, and developing, we're not going to develop it tonight, but developing some kind of either job description, responsibility, regular meetings of select board members attending ours, planning commission reporting there. That to me is sort of that collaborative kind of conversation that we've talked about over time, and we've had some hit and misses, but unless it gets really well defined, a lot of things are going to drop through the cracks. So I don't have a written solution to it, but I'm more than happy to have those conversations and make some proposals that we could use maybe going forward.
Well, I would be happy if, however often they wanted to, the select board had us on their agenda simply for the discourse. But in terms of the regional commission, I mean, they're a regional planning commission. It would seem to me that they would work, everyone in the town's a beneficiary, but they would work with the town planning commission, right?
Yes, and select boards and the like. I don't think there has to be just one road going back and forth. What I'm just suggesting is that maybe we all get on the same road and pass each other once in a while.
I think, Jim, we should put in the minutes that we should request, I don't care how often they would want it, but a scheduled meeting within the select board's agenda where we can either express things that may be of concern or that we're working on, and they can ask us questions, and then we can have a dialogue. I would think.
If you would like, you can task me with doing that. I'll bring it back to the commission and also share it with town manager and the select board, and there'd be a conversation we can have.
Taking notes as you talk. Yeah.
No, I think that would be, I think that would be helpful to all parties.
100%, I agree.
No, that's good. I'm glad we said that. But in terms of John being the lead for the next year, I'm supportive of that.
We need someone from the town there,
Yes.
and that's important.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the question then that remains is, does someone from the planning commission want to be the alternate?
Right.
Or is the planning commission okay with Tom Kennedy serving in that role as he has raised his hand? But we wanted to defer to anybody on the planning commission.
I'm fine with Tom doing it. I also, how often do they meet?
Once a month, and summer's sort of off.
Usually about 8 times a year.
8 times a year. If you missed 2 of those, that would hardly be a big deal.
Right.
But I was impressed by the conversation that we had with Tom at the select board meeting where I attended and we discussed housing, because I was very pleased with the way the plan had been read and thought about and questions asked. So I had no issue with.
Actually, I don't know, I didn't know that you went to the select board meeting. We haven't had that report yet. Could you explain that a little more, or was this in the past?
I was there for questions, to respond to questions.
At the past meeting?
At the.
No, I was at the past.
Two meetings ago.
I just want to put it in the minutes.
Yeah, and there were a few questions asked about the housing, but what we had stressed in that document had been absorbed. I believe it was agreed with, and there was clear recognition that you don't read chapter 4 in isolation. You read it with chapter 1.
Okay.
And so that seemed all fine.
Okay. Could, actually, maybe at some point during the course of the year, we could spell Tom once so people could become,
Yeah, I'd be.
could
Familiar.
communicate directly
Yeah,
with
let's
us.
get point of order. Maybe we could finish the representative to the Two Rivers Commission meeting before we
Yeah.
talk more about the
Yeah.
chapters.
Okay, yes, I'm on the same subject.
Yeah.
That's on the floor. And that's about maybe a planning commission
Yeah.
member on occasion can
Mhm.
can either spell Tom.
Sure,
I
I-
don't know if two people from the town can participate in that. We need to know.
Two people could be there, yes.
As long as that's just a general understanding.
Right. So, right, my point is saying we should
Yes.
canvass everybody if they want to serve on it. I've looked deep into my commitments and I just can't.
Yeah.
Can't. But I would be interested in going, once or twice
Yes.
during the year.
Probably I would do. Once, maybe.
So we're set that John will be the town of Heartland's representative, at least for the forthcoming year, till next town meeting.
And then
We're
we're
not
okay.
going to be offering anybody from the commission. The select board will appoint John.
Got it. Good. But I mean, we have, yes,
Yeah.
we're very supportive.
And of Tom, right?
And of
We're
Tom.
clear on that?
Yes.
I guess I'll say thanks, but I'm not, I'm not quite sure yet.
We're not going to make any jokes about it.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Anything to say on the town plan status?
What?
So I can give a quick update.
Yeah.
Nothing put me on the spot, Jay.
No,
So we
you're
are,
on the spot all the time. I'm just trying to
They
keep you
are-
comfortable.
they are through chapter 7. So again, the select board skipped chapter 1. We set it to the side because that's land use, and I think they've looked at it, but they're going through goals, policies, and recommendations in subsequent chapters. We'll come back and do chapter 1 at the end. They've done 2 through 7. The next meeting we're hoping to do 8, 9, and 10 with relatively short, straightforward chapters, and I believe that's the end. And then
Almost.
And then one, right?
yeah,
And
and then
then
coming back to do 1. So I anticipate, that'll be March, first meeting in April, middle of April, they'll be done with their review, and then hold their required hearings on the town plan.
John, the only caution I might offer is that following chapter 10, there is an implementation chapter.
Yes.
Whether that's open for discussion or at least you review it.
Yep, yeah, we'll review it. Again, the select board's not really wordsmithing the document. They're not going through it and we're trying to stay at the 20,000 foot level and not getting bogged down in kind of the text of the chapters, but really looking at the overarching policies at the end. and going from there. It's been relatively smooth and straightforward thus far. I've been capturing the edits, and actually Brian from Two Rivers and I are sitting down on Monday to make all the changes that have taken place thus far. So, yeah, again, so I anticipate mid-April having a final select board reviewed town plan. At which point, if you would like to see it again, we can certainly get Brian to share it back to the planning commission and everybody. Put it back on the website for the public.
Mark, can I ask you a question? Just a minute. I have relatives that live in town and friends that live in town, and I know an evil word in town is zone. I mean,
Well, it depends on who you talk to, but yes, it could be an evil word.
It's been shot down several times when it's been brought up in town for very passionate reasons. But the only question I have is, you guys are forming some kind of town plan as far as allowance of types of buildings and whatnot in town. I understand that the big thing was probably that stuff that's going down by the interstate sometimes, and that may be a big thorn in a lot of people's side. The farmer's market.
Yeah.
When all this is said and done, and I'm not sure, you guys are talking about chapter this, chapter that, you've obviously put together a big plan and done a lot of work on it, and I appreciate hard work that a lot of people do. But is this going to be put before the town before it's implemented? Or is this something that the planning commission and or the select board is going to say, okay, that's it, this is what we're going to do? I mean, the last time something like this came up, if there was a survey sent out to the town to see if the townspeople would be interested in this happening in their town. And first off, that survey was the most biased survey I'd ever seen in my life. And I wrote that on it and sent it back. I didn't even fill it out. And the second thing was it overwhelmingly got crap kicked out of it, from my understanding. And if this is the same type of deal, is it going to be put before the town, or is it just going to be snuck in behind our backs? That's kind of what the people that I'm here to see,
Okay.
that asked me to come to watch this meeting, are asking me to find out.
Okay, then I'll tell you very clearly. I'm the clerk, and on the agenda for this month, there's been so much confusion, at least via the listserv, that I wrote exactly what the procedure is for it to be approved. And if you would like to read, please note, it's on our minutes, and it's on the listserv also. That's the procedure.
Okay.
I'm not sure what time frame you were referring to, but so the whole process for the current town plan that's being reviewed began anew 2 years ago. And it began with a survey that went to the town, eliciting feedback on a number of questions that we thought were pertinent to the town plan. We completed the town plan, and it's now being reviewed by the select board. As John said, there will be public hearings. And there already has been a public hearing that we held to elicit feedback on it. And there will be, I think, 2 more, right, John?
Yep, I believe 2 more.
2 more.
Two more because we're the largest town right there. Yep.
And I mean, it's finding what's best for the community. There will absolutely be divergent views on either end of the continuum.
Can I interject one thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2 things here. We're talking about a town plan, which for this discussion is more of our vision and what we would like to see happen. What we're going to be talking about tonight and over the ensuing weeks is a bylaw, unified bylaw, which is your term using as zoning. That's separate process. The first one, the town plan, that is now in the hands of the select board, does go through that public hearing, and then the select board will make that decision. We're not even close to presenting anything on the bylaw yet. So that's still in process.
All right, but that is,
What you're reading there, I was really glad you put that in, because it encapsulates the process in a nutshell. So it very well may go to the voters, but it need not go to the voters. That's why we have the elected officials we do, and that would be the avenue, but that is also why there are hearings, and that's why every work session we have, we encourage participation, because we do listen to people's comments.
Notice there's a 5% threshold in there.
Yep.
If, I'm assuming for the sake of argument that there's 1,500 voters in town,
There's north of that, but yeah, go ahead.
so 5% of 1,500, 70 people, that's 2 sheets of a petition. And that means that would automatically be a vote by the town. So be clear, the threshold is very low. By hook or by crook, that's probably going to happen in the end, whether or not the select board sends it or not.
all right, well, that was my main question that I wanted to ask.
Are you happy with what you
Yeah.
heard or read?
No, I appreciate your responses. I appreciate your patience with
No.
what I threw at you. I
That's-
mean,
that's-
it may sound like I'm coming with a hostile
No,
intent, but it's more along the lines of concern. I can give you, for instance, my property it's long and narrow. It's literally about 200 feet wide, but it goes a half a mile into the woods. It's 14 acres and it's just narrow. And it goes up over a ledge hill and a lot of ledge and out through, and only about the front 2 acres is buildable. That's where my house and garage is. And in the previous attempt at zoning, I'll use the word zoning because that's the even word in my mind I keep thinking of. But the previous attempt at zoning, they tried to have 50-foot setback rules. Well, if you have 50-foot setbacks and I have a 200-foot section of property, that takes a quarter of my property to what I can build at. And my property is not flat. I mean, it has this and that and everything. Before you can build, and I've added a garage to my, I've been here 28 years in my current house in Hartland. I had another house for 7 years and I lived in another one for another year. I've been in town for a while. I grew up in the town of Hartford. So this is this is home.
you know, I wouldn't say it's going to be the
And
most.
Hartford was terrible.
Well, I think it might be helpful to read the town plan that's on the town's website, because you will see that the town plan in many ways is a precursor to this exercise. And you will see some of the considerations and some of the suggestions put forth. I think that would be helpful. Kevin,
Yes.
want to begin?
Yes.
On that, okay.
So I'm Kevin Geiger, everybody else here. But I'm with the Regional Planning Commission. And I'm helping to write the equal zoning bylaw, which is a unified, what we call a unified bylaw, because it's both zoning and subdivision. I was involved with previous versions with the town, and so I'm well aware of the rough waters we're running. What we're doing tonight, and is there anybody on Zoom?
Yes, Dan's on Zoom, and we have another person, Kathy, on Zoom.
So,
I think Kathy's my brother's wife.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay.
her name's Kathy, and she was saying she might want to get in on Zoom.
so is there,
Are you trying to join their?
just so that the people on Zoom can see this, is there a publicized Zoom link?
Yes, there is.
This is incremental.
Did you see this?
Absolutely. You see that?
You're done by the river.
Am I down by the river?
Chase.
Beachy Road?
You typically find long spaghetti blasts like that.
Well, what this was a farmer at on this whole hillside, and years ago, I don't know how long it was.
Yeah.
But he just chopped it into
Okay.
4 lots.
Yep.
That all had road frontage, and to do it, he made just long
Yep.
lots. And then sold them off.
Yeah.
And the gentleman I bought my house from, we didn't have it very long, but he bought one of the lots, built a house on it. And then I bought the house from him. Life changes happened. I bought it off of him. And then since then I've added a garage and shed and stuff like that. And my shed is literally 20 feet from the border.
Okay.
On one side, my garage is less than 50 feet on the other side from the border. And I mean, it just really limits what I could do with my property. I'm not saying I want to do anything else. I mean, I'm 65. I'm not going to build, another house or a garage or anything like that. But I have relatives, I have friends, I have neighbors who do.
So can the Zoom see?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
you're good.
I'm gonna share my. So hopefully we don't get the reverb thing going on. All right, I'm still hearing me here. Does that bother you over there?
No.
I don't hear anything.
No, we don't hear it.
All right. I won't worry about it. You don't know why. I'm muted, my audio off. I put everything on. Can you still hear me? No, maybe not. So I'll just ignore me hearing this. Yeah, no, you stay mute me if you can.
You're muted on your end.
All right. Stay muted. I don't know why. So, what we decided last time is what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the bylaw as we've got it piece by piece. And this version that we will have until we get all the way to the end, it'll have these comment boxes on the right. It's like, what is this? Why is this? Those will disappear. Those are not part of the bylaw itself. But those explain why there is this thing on the left. And we went through the previous parts above 1.1. And given your comments, I think we'll just recap a little bit of this stuff. But the idea was I'll go through the stuff, explain it, you all can cogitate, you can't discuss it amongst yourselves as a group, because that would violate open meeting law, but you would send comments over to Stephen, and Stephen would send them to me, and then I would go over those comments at the next meeting right now, and then we would do the next part. So the comments that I got on everything down to 111 were basically typos around, we'll call it these bylaws. That's actually what the statute calls it, bylaws. And so I've gone in and done typos on that, but that's really the effective, the changes that you all, that I saw all in your draft. Is that what it's? Just to go over a couple of things since you're here, your nature,
Dana Ballins.
Dana, because it's always good to try to get the word out. Again, I try to be very clear with people about what it's doing and why, just so everybody's, they can like it, not like it, but at least everybody will understand what it's and your property is a great example. So first off, there is an applicability, which is if you did it already and it was legal when you did it, you don't need a permit. You don't need to come in and ask again somehow.
That would be way up to this point in time.
Right, that would be up to that
And
point in
when
time.
I went to build my garage, Hiram Allen was the town manager. That's how long ago it happened. And I walked in to Hiram and I said, Mr. Allen, I want to build a garage on my property. She said, I know where you live. It says, what kind of hoops do I have to jump through? I gotta jump through damn hoops. You want to build a garage? Build a garage. Just let us know when you're done so we can assess you for taxes.
Great.
That's all it took.
That is all it took.
And my next door neighbor is a peach of a guy. I mean, he's like, I don't care what you do, right? If that's the border right there, I don't care what you do right up to that. Says you can do whatever you want. And I said, hey, that's the way I feel. That's the way I grew up. And your property, my property, my property.
So
I'm not going to throw a pig frying in and stake you off the place, but there's a little bit of respect involved. But I mean, that's what it's all about.
So that's some of what we're going to discuss tonight. But it also sounded like your property was kind of thin and bumpy and stony and stuff like that.
My driveway is part of my structure, so that's so
And so that gets to issues around variances and non-conformities. So, and we don't have those parts in the bylaw yet. We're going to have them, but we refer to them in here. And so I'll just talk about them as we go along. But we will have a non-conformity clause and a variance clause and that type of thing. Variances have a statutory rule, and you can't mess with it. It's a 5-part test. If the applicant meets the 5-part test, they get a variance. And part of that is that the topography, they can't do the thing that they would like to do because their lot's too small. So if you end up with, let's say, a 2-acre minimum lot size and somebody had a 1-acre lot, well, they're already in non-conformity, right? They already are not a lot you can make. But they're going to use what they have. If they're already into the setback, or if the setbacks are so good that they couldn't do stuff, again, around that, then that's where non-conformities and variances come in. Because you can't do things in accordance with the rules just because of the physics of the situation.
Did you say there's 5 parts to a variance?
There's 5 parts to a variance.
And they're standard?
Yeah, they're statutory. And the biggest one is the applicant can't create the hardship. The other one is that the variance is the minimum needed to offer relief. So we see them a lot for garages. And my rough advice to town is everybody gets a garage. So if somebody has their house here, they want to put their garage on the side, and their lot's thin, they might go, oh, I got to get into the side setback. When you go, well, you could put your house, your garage behind your house or something, and you go, yeah, that's kind of thing. On the other hand, if they said, I want to build a 4-bay garage beside my house over here, and I'm way into the setback, then you go, yeah, that's not the minimum relief needed. We can't give you variance.
Who decides minimum relief?
The DRB, the Development Review Board, which will be whatever body you all set up.
Okay.
It's not the zoning administrator.
It's worth noting, sorry, to jump in, the bar for a variance is intentionally high, though.
Okay.
Just to be clear, right? Like it's meant to be like an actual hardship for people.
Yeah. There is a separate provision, which we will have as well, which is different. It's related, and people blur them together in their mind. And that's what will be called a waiver. And that is, by law, you can only waive dimensional requirements. But we see it a lot in trying to meet natural resource goals, but also meet the rules of the bylaw. And so you kind of go, well, let's say my lot was such that it's real wet in back. And so, for some reason, the bylaws would say I should build back there. But you go, no, we don't want you to build back there, it's all wet, we want you to move it forward here. So we're gonna waive some provision and let you do something else because it meets other things that we want to meet. And that's commonly used for front setbacks and side setbacks, sometimes heights, things like that. But it's only for dimensional pieces.
So it'll always hinge on the review board, because by definition, these things sound relatively subjective.
Those two processes usually do. The one place where waivers are commonly issued by the administrative officer are for life safety improvements. So somebody owns a house and they want, they put in an apartment and they I gotta put in a second floor egress off the back. Fire safety says I have to do that. Oh, I'm in the setback by 8 feet now. There's no point discussing that.
Yeah.
AOs did it. I've seen it for exhaust fans on the side of restaurants, other odds. So you just go, they need to do that, but people tell them they have to do that. They just do it.
I'm looking at something on
Yes.
right there.
Mhm.
The last sentence, however, permit may be needed for any future change, even including repair or construction.
Or, yes.
One of my brothers, was in Claremont, he ran into that very thing. He needed to re-roof his house. It had a leak, and shingles were back and all that. And we went down to the city of Claremont, and do I get any permits to work on my house? And they're like, well, here's the deal. You strip out the shingles, you put on new shingles, you're fine. You strip out the shingles, and you get down to plywood, and you find a rotten piece of plywood, you need a permit to replace that piece of plywood. To me, that's freaking ridiculous. If I have a rotten piece of plywood on my house, I don't want to have to wait a week to get a permit to replace the damn piece of plywood, to replace my piece of plywood so I can put a roof on it.
Right.
Especially if it's in the middle of a project I'm doing on the weekend. And the office.
So that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can-
Is there a question?
well, I just want to make sure we get,
Yes.
your questions are very important, but maybe if we can hold them to the end, because they're somewhat anecdotal too, and we've got to get through each one of
I'm
these
sorry,
sections.
I'm sorry.
No,
to
no, no,
interrupt
no,
for
no,
these
no,
reasons.
apologize.
Because you have a big job to do here, I understand.
So-
And I'm going into these.
We're only going to go through basically about, I'm just going to scroll through real quick so you don't see it's forever long. It's 2-3 pages. And these are all the things, draft. I'm going to go through them tonight. We're not going to decide tonight. But if you have any, why is that question tonight, or what does it mean? But these are all the things exactly that say, you don't need a permit for us. And there'll be certain instances where you do need a permit, and that's why it says you need a permit for all sorts of things, except now we're going to take them off the table. The first one, required agricultural practices. Think of this as farming, our buildings and farming. Now, for a long time, the state law says towns shall not require zoning permits for farming and farming. We always told the towns, you can't. And then the Supreme Court, just recently in Vermont, said, well, we actually think you can. You can't mess with the water quality standard impacts of the required agricultural practices, but you can actually mess with farming. My advice to town is ignore that. Even though the Supreme Court basically now said you could regulate agriculture, I say don't. Just assume that the Supreme Court never issued that decision and say we are not regulating agriculture. If agriculture is defined in the law as agriculture, for agricultural structures, build a farm, plow the field, have chickens, whatever the thing is, off you go. And we don't require a permit for that. Yes.
With all of these waivers, though.
What?
Well, sorry, with exemptions, with the caveat that floodplain regulations still apply.
Yes. And that's And so in general, I have put that, yeah, so in this, so since towns have been precluded from regulating agriculture before, at least, you still need a flood permit. The state issues that flood permit for agricultural buildings. So if you're gonna build a barn in a floodplain, the state issues you a flood permit. You're not exempt from all permitting, you just don't get a permit from the town.
It's kind of like active filter. You want to build a house, you have to get a septic design that works correct.
Yeah.
You can't just put a 55-gallon
Right. Right, not anymore. Same thing applies to silvicultural practices, logging. Forestry, you cut trees down, you can drag them around, you can do this type of thing. And again, the exemption is as long as you're in compliance with the acceptable management practices. In both cases, should someone not farm in compliance with the state standards or not log in compliance with the state standards, technically, yes, they'd be in violation of rezoning as well. They'd also be in violation of state standards.
Where is the definition of agriculture? in that
It's,
provision?
it's found in the statute.
And it's very clear?
It's lengthy and pretty clear. Yeah. I mean, it's literally if you have 5 points. Right. 4 doesn't. 20 forbidden. And it goes from a certain number goes.
Well, you build this structure to,
If you build a barn,
suppose you build a little stand to,
That's me, that's me. That was me. I was
no trees here, they can't just go willy-nilly put in a lot. I say outside the right of way, you could say, we don't care at all. So again, this is open to any and all permutations you want. The reason I say outside the right of way is typically, and I don't know how you handle this, but typically if somebody wants to put things inside the right of way, the town has the ability to go, that was nice you planted that bush, we're gonna mow it down. Don't plant bushes in the right of way, because the town has a right of way. That's what the right of way is. Do you require like permission to place things within the right of way?
No, but we occasionally mow that down.
And so yet again, don't do it. You might connect that over to, talk to the select board about how they permit rights of way.
I'm familiar with how rights of way work. I worked for rights of way were a huge part of this.
Yes. The removal of trees. So again, we don't care if you plant bushes, and we don't care if you take out bushes. Go around your yard and cut out things, except where you're required to put that bush there and the permit over here on the site plan, or as part of a subdivision. If, and when we get into the subdivision regulations, you may decide to change this, but typically in a subdivision, there is what's known as a cut line. And so they show you on the map, well, here are the trees, here's the edge of where we're going to cut fields out of the trees. And if that's part of the permit, then you can't go cut those trees that you said you were going to cut. That's where that part goes. The next part, trails. You could get into really fiddly with trails. I put in mowed trails versus paved trails versus gravel trails or whatever. But basically, if you're going to just go and make a trail in your woods, with your bush hog, we don't care at all. Outside of setback areas and the special flood hazard area, and not in violation of other permits. Special flood hazard area, they might care, and especially if you start to exempt things that are physically built, trails versus just road. And later, we may talk about basically don't be cutting and mowing things within a certain distance to the edge of the bank as a general practice. You're not required to right now in Vermont, and John knows this because he used to be there, if below top of bank, the state has regulatory authority. Up to the tippy top of bank, the state does not. So you can go zip, mow down all these trees, but as soon as the tree falls in the stream,
The door was open.
here, you can't without a permit. Yes. But there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be cutting the trees down next to this. But again, there's no rule that you have to regulate that. But we'll get into that later when we have talked about stream setback. The next one is statute, basically small wind towers and things that sit on top of your roof because you can have thermal solar collectors. Does anybody have those here? They're light boxes where the sun shines in and warms up the black plastic and the water goes through. They don't make electricity. They're a thermal heat exchange. So they're not regulated like solar PV panels. And again, the statute says on flat roofs, and they define flat roof as having no more than 5% slope, all that type of thing. Got to do that. The next one, a sign. At some point, you may not care about signs at all. You may say, we don't care about what size sign you put. For discussion purposes, I put in a small sign under 2 square feet on any face. When we talk about signs, we're going to talk about the faces too. Because do we mean 2 square feet counting both sides or counting one side? Signs get very tricky, and that's why. So, you can have a sign about yay big, and people, put them on the Pines, the Shermans. They put up signs at their houses. Okay. There's going to be more signs coming, but that's one sign. We don't care. It's not a business sign except for a home occupation, as we know. Home occupations, again, they get protection. We don't care, select one. Fences, berms, or walls under 5 feet high outside the special flood hazard area setbacks and outside the highway right of way. Now, again, you could be like, we don't care at all about fences. The reason that's written the way it is because of some experience with fences and berms and walls. And there's known in the trade as something called a spike fence. So I don't like, I forget your name. Andre. So Andre and I have had a snit ever since he beat me at backhanded, right? And I'm just gonna go right for the line and put a high fence up. And now he can't see anything.
You should make that fence out of tires too.
I can make the fence, yeah, I can make it out of tires. I can make it 20 feet high, I can sink power poles in here and put up giant tires. Or, oh, no, I'm not gonna build a fence. I'm just gonna build a mountain of dirt, which is not a fence. You guys didn't find that as a fence, but it's the size of this building, and that's why berms are in there too, because we have those in the region. People have done all these things. And so we pick 5 feet high because it seems to not bother people if you can see over them, the average person, versus not. But you might say 4, whatever. And again, this doesn't mean that you can't do the other kinds of fences. This just means don't come to us. Outside the special flood hazard area, because they actually are garden permit over there. Outside applicable setbacks, and again, outside the right of way. Doesn't mean you can't get it. If you want to put a fence, commonly put on the property line. Well, it's difficult to maintain your fence if you put it on the property line without going on your neighbor's property. And so it's really nice to have your neighbor agree to put a fence there. And so typically, fences get permits, and the permit condition is as long as the neighbor agrees. That's, one of the things that are allowed in every district. Anybody can build a fence if the neighbor agrees. It's not exempt, but it's over there and they get it. So that's why this is written the way it's written with the careful balance on it. Fuel or propane tanks not used for commercial purposes, again, outside special flood hazard area because they need a permit, outside setbacks. This does not differentiate between above ground and below ground. And you might decide to differentiate between above ground and below ground. You might say, we don't care the below ground ones, but we do care about the above ground ones, whatever. Again, if it's part of a commercial purpose, it's going to be getting a permit over there where they put the tank. It's probably going to be in their site plan and all that. But you're like me, and you're like, I'm tired of the old oil furnace. I'm going to put in a propane furnace. I'm going to set a tank out there under this. You don't have it with town, unless you're in some weird little lot again. Accessory structures. Here, this is a really good place to think about the shed that we care about. We put 100 square feet, an 8 by 12 shed, a 10 by 10 shed, no more than 12 feet high, again, outside the special flood hazard area and outside the setback. We also don't talk about numbers of sheds. These are commonly referred to as accessory structures. I go to Home Depot, I get one of these dinky shed kits, I come home with actual shed. I get an Amish shed, they're kind of, I bring them home, put it on the lot, I'm 20 feet or whatever you decide from the lot line. I really like this shed. I go back and I get another one. I like that one. I go back and get another one. I get 43 sheds and put them on my property. You guys don't care because you guys have said, we're not regulating sheds. And you didn't put a number on that. You get 3 free rooms or whatever. As long as it's not too big and it's not next to anything that it shouldn't be next to, we don't need a permit. The listers are, I don't know, do they even count sheds as any value?
That's a good question. I don't know. The assessor. We don't.
The assessor. And you might say there, we don't care at all. Maybe we don't care about garages. pick a size, but there'll be some size where you all will probably go, oh yeah, that thing, we should at least make it get it. All they might do is come in, John's the AO, let's say, and I give you the whatever permit fee, wait 15 days, go put my shed.
So that is something we would promulgate that rule, right?
You what?
Promulgate that rule for a number, because accessory structure, it's a structure, it's a building. The flood law defines it as a building.
Yep.
It's a building.
Yep.
So that is open to regulation.
It is.
I mean, that scenario you just laid out, I can see where that'd be. Oh, that would give rise to some kind of argument.
Highly unlikely, but possible.
Right. And that's the other thing is, I wouldn't worry too much about all the weird stuff that can happen about the person who's just a shadowmaniac and buys 43, because that doesn't happen.
Kevin,
Yes.
I do have a sort of an extension of that question.
Yes.
In here, does it talk about the maximum size of an accessory or an additional structure?
Not yet.
So that leads to my, then, if I could ask the question earlier.
Yeah.
If those 43 sheds cumulatively were larger than our footprint that was allowed for one structure,
Right.
would that limit the 43?
You might have a cumulative covering percent of the lot, or you might have a cumulative size, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe you could do it that
Okay.
way. Again,
Yeah, that sounds like a
so
mess.
think about this, go home, talk to your friends and go, how big of a shed? Go look at your own shed and go, oh, I don't care about that, or, oh, I do care. The next one is the big act. This is the de minimis clause. Anything that we didn't talk about, bird baths, fake little oil derricks, Polaris missiles, I don't know, whatever you want to put up in your yard, that the AO goes, that's dinky, I don't care, you don't need one.
So if it's not scheduled, it's allowable.
It's allowable, and the AO makes an act. That is a judgment call by the AO. And that is an appealable decision, because somebody go, wait a minute. And I always use the Brontosaurus in Deptford, Postville, it's very close.
Yeah.
Like, okay, my kids are in the yard, they're putting up with something. I build a full-scale Brontosaurus out of driftwood. Now, maybe we actually, that thing is regular. So you may want to think about some amount of size. Since this is also a subdivision bylaw, I have put the things that we commonly suggest as exempt subdivisions. So subdivision, again, any change in the lot line is a subdivision. My neighbor and I, this is actually the case. I have a small lot, my neighbor has a small lot. Between our lot, there is no monumented division. I go to the old Delano place. So my deed says, I think that means my garage plus 3 feet. My neighbor actually thinks the line is at my garage, which would mean I couldn't paint my garage. Sooner or later, we will hopefully go survey that, stick a rod in the ground, and then we will need to file a plat with the town. But we're not making a subdivision. We're just deciding where the hell this thing actually is. So that, filing a plat, we don't care. Joint filing of plats. Joint filing of plats. If I say it's here, and my neighbor says it's over there, now we're off the races. But this is we agree. Sticking parcels together in their entirety. I buy my neighbor's land, I want to make it one deed for whatever reason. That's a subdivision because I've changed the lot. But I've joined two things in entirety. I haven't chopped off some weird part. Again, you have to file the plat, we don't care. Because why would you ever care? I don't see a reason. The next
Why
one,
would you, but look, if you took two parcels and made them into one,
Yeah.
and the one now met some criteria for building something, I don't know that you wouldn't at least have an interest in that.
you mean
You as the regulatory body.
that you would somehow keep them from doing that?
I don't know, but I'm saying it's not a neutral transaction.
I don't see why you would ever stop them from doing it.
Okay.
In their entirety. That's different than, I'm gonna stick half on here and keep some backlot over here. There will be a provisioning, because you have to have a provision about what we call existing small lots, whether you automatically join them or not. Commonly seen on lakefront lots, where I have a millionth of an acre, my neighbors came for a millionth of an acre, and all of a sudden, do they stick together? Because you have to deal with that, but that's the subject. Any municipal road construction, maintenance, paving, stream bank repair, anything that they're doing over there outside the special flood hazard area. I don't know offhand, John, because I never deal with it. Municipal work inside the flood hazard area. State permit or?
Technically, it should be a local permit.
Okay.
I have never come across a town that issues local permits for work in the flood hazard area.
My suggestion there, if we're probably going to just keep your flood regs over there a little bit. My suggestion always on that, if I'm writing flood regs, is the standard is, did you get a state stream alt permit for that? If so, check. End of review. Because they're really looking at anything that needs to get looked at. Temporary placement. Excuse me. Storage trailers, construction trailers, stuff. I got a load of things delivered. Yada, yada, yada. For there not less than 6 months. Maybe you say a year. Maybe you say 2 years. Something, at some point, if I park a storage container in my yard, it becomes, and I leave it there long enough, it's de facto a garage sort of shed. But if I just had it there because I moved, I dropped one of those things, and I'm going, every week I go haul some furniture out because I'm trying to put it in my new house, do we care? So think about that type of thing. Temporary structures. I'm going to put up a tent for my wedding. It's a structure. Do we care? You have fairs. Sometimes there's weird little odds and ends things that happen out there. You guys have farmers markets?
Down the library.
Yeah. Again, we're not going to issue, but it goes up and goes down. Yeah. We don't care about it.
Some says no more than 2 weeks.
Yep, no more than 2 weeks before the event, and in place no more than 2 weeks, and then you gotta take it down. So this, you might want to clarify, if we're like, does that mean no more than 2 weeks cumulative, or each one gets 2 weeks? Again, we don't want to leave black holes where we don't have to.
Well, right, say, we put up a tent for camp behind the rec center. That's up for the entirety of the summer.
Yeah.
But that says structure, so what is the structure under the bylaw?
There's a farm down the road that puts up a structure that has eggs and maple syrup for sale, and
So-
it's there year round.
Right, the tent would meet the
Definitely,
definition of a structure.
and that's why, that was that last
Yeah.
thing, like, if the
Yeah.
structure is 4 walls and a roof, then the
Well,
tent.
I would go with the 3 walls
Right.
and a roof like the flood does, but there is no hard and fast rule because all of those sheds, you could argue that those are temporary structures in the sense that they're portable. They can be moved. They're typically on gravel or something, and so It sounds like it's getting complicated.
Well, and that's why, you know, we leave some things to the AO, but it is, but we're trying to get all of the weird stuff out of the way so that people don't go, oh, you're gonna make me get a permit for my tent. Nope, C19. RVs. Now, there's a difference between an RV that you park in the yard, that Aunt Ethel stays in when she comes to visit for a week every summer, but it's parked over here inside the yard. Or an RV that I parked somewhere in a field and I'm living out of it, it has no tires, and clearly is not movable, it's not registered, it's functioning like a house, even though it looks like a, that's a house, need a permit. But again, you might go, how long? Maybe we don't care if they live there all summer. But this is 30 days out of the year.
There's 2 recreational vehicles parked up at North Paradise, Maine all summer long, because they run the booth.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know if that
Actually, I think
permit
that's,
anything.
I think that's government.
That's Army Berlin. We have one much closer.
Yeah.
Right outside the door.
And again, it doesn't mean that they're illegal, it just means
Right.
we're gonna treat them like a house.
I'm trying to fix things in my mind. So with a hoop structure, think of some of the ones that are used as greenhouses. Would that fall under agriculture?
Greenhouses or ag structures are exempt.
Yeah, house cooking.
Is it a structure, by the way?
It's,
A hoop structure. So it doesn't have
yes.
fixed walls.
Well, that's something, we distinguish between a building and a structure, typically. So a building has walls, a structure is an assemblage of materials.
Okay.
But if it has a permanent slab foundation, like somebody put a concrete slab,
Then it's a
and then
building.
put the hoop structure on top of it.
Well, again, if it's a greenhouse, it's an ag thing and it's not your concern, ever. Hunting, fishing, they're exempt. Tents and other temporary structures meant for habitation, temporary structures meant for habitation and in place. I know people who've lived in teepees. Is that a teepee that you put up and take down, or is it a teepee that's like they're living? If they're living in it and it's functioning as a house, you should just treat it as a house. Which, for most people, again, whatever your minimum permit fee is, they're gonna walk into John, they're gonna have some crayon drawing of their lot size, and he's gonna say, are you so-and-so from the setback, and they're gonna have a crayon drawing, and they're gonna go, yep, he's gonna go, off you go, you're okay. Except maybe the septic. All that stuff. Exterior maintenance, renovation, repair. This is your example there. It does not expand the structure footprint or envelope. So I'm taking out my siding, I'm putting on my siding. I'm taking out my roof, I'm putting on my roof. All that stuff. And then I put the note in there because the state energy code does require not a permit, but it requires a certification of it there, which typically the town has the copies and lets people know. So right now, the way the state energy code is, if I rip off the inside of my wall, if I rip off the drywall, and I'm messing with the insulation, state energy code. If I rip off the sheathing, and inside the wall, state energy code. If I rip off the plywood on the roof, state energy code. I can re-roof, I can re-shingle, I can repaint all I want, I never trigger state energy code. But the state energy code kicks into place. And so it's nice to have these other reminders, just because this is sometimes the only thing people see.
Is the state energy code an established law you have to follow now?
Yes, all residential energy structures have to follow, except owner stuff. Basically, if you don't have a general contractor, you're doing it your own work, and it's owner occupied single family stuff. Those are the ones. So as soon as you rent it, or if it's a rental, then you're not.
It becomes a commercial building.
So there's a specific statute for that?
Yeah.
would that then be valuable to have it linked into here?
Yeah, but unfortunately, the link there, the link there, I would say, it would just send you to the energy code,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to read the whole rule and find the spot in the rule that says, this is what triggers it.
So
This
the
is-
language, I can't really read it from here, but that's not important at the moment. But what that text contains is enough information so I would know that I had to address that energy code?
Yeah, and we will have a separate part about energy codes, but you might want to put, we could put like a link in here, that may be a comment you guys give me, is actually put a link right there about the energy codes.
What's the enforcement?
There's basically no enforcement.
Yeah.
It's not a town problem,
Right, it's a state problem.
it's a state problem. The state requires, anytime you build things nowadays, the state requires that the contractor certify that the building is in compliance with state.
But if it's a code with no enforcement, then
There's a
it's
lot.
worthless.
Yeah, I mean.
I mean, I know they would have a residual right to enforce it,
Right.
but
Unless it came to a court case. If a tenant in the apartment came and said, my bills are too high, this guy did a bunch of work, he didn't follow the state codes as far as energy,
yeah.
The
you know,
place.
stuff like that, or tenant in a.
But it's
commercial
not,
building.
it's not within our purview.
It's not within your purview unless, and I don't suggest that you do this, but if you were in the bylaw to put in something we call a certificate of occupancy. A certificate of occupancy is like a second permit, is the way to think of it. Common around the country, you get a permit, Andre gets a permit to build. Then they come back and go, I built it. The AO goes out there and checks to see that the building is in compliance, and then you get issued a certificate of occupancy. Without that, you can't occupy the building. You can build it, but you can't occupy it. If you issue a certificate of occupancy, which I don't suggest you do, but if you do that, then you must have that. You cannot issue a certificate of occupancy unless you have the energy code certificate. That's the way the statute. That's about the only vote.
So that basically makes the town
One or the
responsible
other
for
is gonna have to give you one before you move into your house anyway.
But that basically makes the town responsible for enforcing the code.
Yeah, and there's other reasons why, again, we're writing a baby bylaw, I would not
Yeah,
say.
let's go back and talk about that another time,
You should
because,
Yes.
I mean, that does assure everyone that that building is compliant and is safe to be occupied.
It does, it is, and there's reasons to have that, and then there's reasons not to. I think for certain subdivisions, there's something we call certificate of compliance, which is good there because you can use it to release a bond. Because somebody's gonna build a road up to a bunch of houses, and they come in and they've got their permit, got all the lot lines, they sold all the house lots, and then they never built the road. Aha! And you go, wait a minute. One of the things there you can do on subdivisions is you can go, you have to post a bond, you're gonna build that road. If you don't, we, the select board, will vote, we'll get the bond and build the road for you.
Yeah.
And the way we know we didn't build the road is we issue a certificate of compliance that goes, yep, you built the road, release bond.
I personally don't have a problem with occupancy permits. After working with Greenmount Power, former occupation, at one point I helped the collector do collections. And in some of the places we went to visit, they were built with 2x4s and tar paper, and I'm telling you, they were the scariest structure you want to walk into. And people were living there with kids. I mean, it's the only way to be sure that some of these places that are being built safely. And that was our biggest fear, safety. I mean, we were the electrical part of it. But I mean, we wanted to make sure when we ran electricity to a building, that what we were hooking up was safe to hook up to.
Right, and Vermont does not have electrical code for home-built houses.
Right.
You can go wire and plumb your own crazy house, as long as you live in it and don't rent it, you can, string it together with Christmas lights.
My younger brother's doing it right this moment.
Yeah,
He's
it
building
is.
his house in Bradford, he's gonna build another. But his house, he's gonna sell this one. But he's following, he is big on research, and he's following all the rules and all the laws.
And so that's why we're gonna have some references to state building code in here. Again, not pure bailiwick. But I've gotten calls from people who go, wait a minute, I built my house, and now the state's telling me I didn't follow state building code. Why didn't my town tell me about that? And I'm like, because it's not their job. But it is nice to have it in there, especially for things that aren't single-family structures, because those are automatically state building code. Duplexes, triplexes automatically have to meet state building codes. Can't occupy them under the state rules. So it's up to the state to enforce it, but it's nice for people to know as soon as they get your permit. Because again, you're kind of the only people they'll run into. And it's nice for the AO to be a little bit of a funnel about everything else. It's not their job, they're not required to, they have no legal liability. It's just good public service.
That's interesting what you just said. So you're saying a single family home, and I'm presuming manufactured housing.
No, they actually,
Okay, so I always considered a 2, 3, and 4 to be res. They are res in terms of the government. So what you're saying, those are regulated, so it's only a single family home.
it's owner occupied. As soon as you rent it, it becomes a
Yeah,
public
it's
service.
commercial.
Yeah, the any modular or manufactured homes, because every state's code's a little different, they actually have agreements with those plans. And they can even audit those plans. And so they know before it leaves there and comes here that that's a code compliant structure. And all new mobile homes have to meet the HUD code. New mobile homes are actually pretty nice buildings. So again, outside stuff we don't care about, inside stuff we don't care about, but you might trigger your energy codes, and you especially might trigger building codes. You're changing your stairwell, you're creating something that needs a railing. But as long as you don't add bedrooms, we put that in because if you add a bedroom, you need a state septic permit change. And this is a good place to know it. This doesn't mean that that's going to be illegal. It just means that we're going to put you in our permit thing, and as part of your permit for anything that has a bedroom, my suggestion as part of your permit says, you don't get our permit until you get the state permit.
What about things that fall under the Disability Act? Would those be subject to reg, or would they be excluded?
Ooh, that's a good thing. Think about that. I don't know if I have that in here. I may. Let's see.
Is that a state regulated thing, more so than the town?
Well, these aren't commercial structures, so, but what I'm thinking is, if you do have somebody with needs in a single family home, where they might need a wheelchair ramp, or that's the one that comes to mind.
But you partially addressed that when you were talking about if you had converted your second floor to an apartment and you needed a second egress. That, to me, immediately built the ramp to get a wheelchair up into the house that was closer to your side, your lot.
But I would say there, what you're doing is you're falling under renovation. You're ripping out your door, you're making your door wide. You can change bathrooms all you want. The state septic stuff doesn't care about bathrooms, strangely enough.
Really?
Yeah, it's all driven by bedrooms. You can have 12 bathrooms in one bedroom. It's the same septic as one bedroom and one bedroom.
Reason being, I figure if it's one bedroom, there's only going to be two people in it.
Yeah. Yeah, they can run it down the
Well,
toilet.
They can use 5 different bathrooms if they want, but there's only going to be 2 people in the toilet.
So that would fall under renovation. And we do all sorts of things, rip out walls, who cares? But don't add a bedroom. And again, a bedroom is defined by state building code and the septic code. That isn't statutorily defined, but it's defined.
He's adding new square footage, or is it repurposing? You know how when a lot of people become ill,
Yeah,
you make a bedroom on the first floor for them. I don't consider that a bedroom per se, but that's simply,
so
Right.
you just start living in the living room, kind of.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's completely outside the scope of this.
yes, because technically you haven't turned it into a bedroom.
Yeah.
You still have the same number of bedrooms in the house.
Yeah.
All bedrooms have to have a door, a window, and a closet.
A closet.
Closet, huh?
Closet. If you take out the closet, you can kind of undo a bedroom.
I
It comes
it's
in all-
funny, because I have a 3-bedroom home, and only 2 bedrooms have closets. One of them has a wardrobe we bought for it, so it's technically a closet, but it's not.
Closet, yeah.
And so we have seen people want to change bedrooms around, and they'll kind of like undo a bedroom, and they'll turn that into an office, and then they'll make it something better. And our advice to towns is fine, noted in the permit file, don't even necessarily give a permit for it, but just do that. Where it gets complicated is we've had people turn 3-bedroom houses into 2-bedroom houses, and want to turn back into 3-bedroom houses later. And everybody has forgotten that it was ever a 3-bedroom house. And they're like, oh yeah, it was in 1972. And I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't get it. But the life safety stuff I would say would fall under renovation, but again, you might clarify that, you might go, anything you gotta do for life safety or ADA compliance,
Yeah.
ramps in the front.
Yeah.
You name it.
Mhm.
We don't care about it. This stuff here really has to do with cell towers. This is all under 248A. This is not any addition of 300 square feet in your yard. This is really, they got tired of dealing with dinky changes to cell towers. And so all of these things, we don't care. You might decide, and think about it, we don't want to regulate signs at all. We don't want to regulate, I don't know, whatever the thing may be. But anything else that's not on this list, that's not de minimis, would get regulated. That's essentially drilling, grading, paving, building, any cutting, you name it. It'll get a permit.
So if I want to pave my driveway, I have to get a permit.
If your driveway was unpaved now, and you want to pave your driveway,
My driveway is partially paved, because I have a steep hill, and if it's not paved, it's going to be torn up in the spring and
right,
one of them's off.
you might decide that needs a permit. Is it paved to the town road?
No. There's a section of dirt, then it comes to a steep hill, that's paved, and then up by my house, it's not paved. I checked in the pavement up by the house, it was $20,000. It was more than I cared to spend.
Driveways are a good thing. I actually think towns should regulate driveways. Most towns don't. Your access, where you touch the town highway, is regulated by the town under curb cut permits.
Isn't there, certain bylaws going, whatever, from the state that's coming in as of June 15th this year
On,
on private roads versus
oh,
driveways?
well,
The left or something?
Yeah.
How do you bring that up?
the road rule,
Yeah.
yes. Different than this, I'll touch base on that in a second. Aside from your bylaw, a modification like paving an existing driveway to the town road requires a town permit. Not a zoning permit, but requires a permit from the road. As does, turning the farm access into a real driveway and changing the alignment and all other things. Vermont does not regulate the use that goes with a driveway. So if you've got a 10-foot paved road and you have a house and you want to put a Walmart on there, but you don't change that road, the state does not make you change that road. That access is unrelated to the use. That's really where local zoning comes into play. Or Act 250.
Yeah, I was gonna say Act 250 goes.
If it's Act 250,
Over 800 feet, Act 250 kicks in.
And right now in your town, you know, a lot of things trigger Act 250. On your question, so Andre asked about the road rule. Road rule, unrelated to your zoning, but a different thing out there. And that is right now, as of July 1, I think it is, somewhere around there. Everything more than 800 feet, any new road that's longer than 800 feet will trigger Act 250. Again, which is the way it was for decades.
Is that a road or driveway longer than 800?
The driveways too.
Either or.
And it isn't the straight distance, it's the linear distance along the road. So you can go back and forth and back and forth. They will probably, from all I'm hearing, is they will probably push that out at least to the end of the year, if not probably to the end of the next year. Because right now there's about 4 different deadlines and they're all kind of not aligned. And everybody's waiting for the other one. And so I think that they're going to push all this out.
Drainage and different
Yeah, because
reasonings.
that gets into a whole bunch of other things in Act 250. There's a Act 250 study reports on that they haven't done yet, that they're supposed to do by February. But yes, we probably will mention Act 250 in here just again to remind people this is not the only permit we need. Go over there. State wetlands permits, there's all sorts of permits people need. But so these are all the things, again, if you think of things that you're like, I don't care about signs ever. I don't care about, like maybe you say, we don't care about the signs of sheds. You know, sheds just don't get permit, period. Or RVs, you know, we don't want to bother with RVs, don't need a permit. If you exempt them, they're clearly exempted. It's not an administrative nightmare because it's clear like we're not going to talk about it. It only becomes a nightmare when somebody starts living on them, and then you kind of this weird hole. Tiny homes are we deal with the definition of a tiny home. If you build a home, it essentially doesn't matter how tiny it is. It's a home. It's a tiny home, state exemption. And so they come into code often. The distinction that we try to make in the definition section is if it's on wheels. So if it acts like a travel trailer, it's just collaborative, but otherwise it would be a fifth wheel, then essentially it's a travel trailer. And you can move around.
Somebody put one down the road for me. They bought a lot, cleared it off, put in a septic system, put in a well, and all that, and drove a tiny home up in there, parked it. And if I'm not mistaken, they use it as their Airbnb.
Yes, and then that becomes an issue, not for your regulations unless you want to deal with short-term rentals and all that type of thing. But now it's a rental. Now it has to meet state building code. People who build off tiny homes often forget that if they're going to rent that thing, that is now a public building that has to meet code.
But it's still on wheels.
It's on wheels, but it's still got to meet code. And so the wiring in it has to be right, the insulation has to be right, the egress has to be right, the fire safety has to be right. Not your problem, state building. And I get a lot of calls from people about that one. And I'm like, yeah, we're in code. Go see land and all and get a permit.
Kevin,
Yes.
I don't want to rush you, but
No, we're
I have
done.
a, huh?
We're done.
Okay, well, not quite. Thank you very much. A procedural question.
Yes,
I thought that what you suggested we were going to do at these meetings is go through a section, and then as we did with the regulatory part that we sent you our thoughts on,
yes,
that then we would come back and we would discuss that,
yes.
which we haven't done.
Well, the only comments that I saw were just typos.
Okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
but we're in a little different realm now, okay?
When we come back next time on this,
Okay,
Yes.
my point is this, is that I'm supposed to, as clerk, summarize everything that just got said. I do not, I think if you were to supply us before the meeting with what you picture here, I don't think any of us can read the words, so it would,
no, you should have all got this by email last week.
I just realized,
I don't,
I thought our commented one. That's what I was looking at because it ended at 110
Yes,
and you've just gone through 111.
yes.
There is a document with a 111 that's sent. It had an earlier timestamp in my stuff and I thought it was,
oh, okay. All right.
precedent. So we did receive this.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that.
Yep.
Because if we have it while you're here, instead of writing 1,000 notes, we can just say, oh yeah, that question about this setback, and we can make our own notes because we're going to come back through this again. So didn't know you didn't send it.
And so process-wise, what I will now, because now you'll see, this is, well, you don't necessarily see it, but it's right here. This is dated today. So you'll see this will come back out. It'll have a bunch of the typos around, mainly around, is it this bylaw, these bylaws, that type of thing. Has several of those things fixed up. But then this, you'll give me comments on, hopefully on 1.11. Then we'll come back with that. There'll be another new part stuck onto it.
Which
But
will be
then-
the next chapter, if you will.
Yeah, but it'll be pretty small. The next thing we're going to get to, because we're not going to discuss districts and uses, because that's nowhere in the town plan. The next thing we will probably discuss is, I would say, is general standards. And that's typically, though we don't care where you are in town, these are the things. And oftentimes it might be, we don't care where you're in town, but you can't be more than 50 feet high. We don't care where you're in town, but you can't have spotlights that blind the neighbors. We don't care where you're in town, you can't. And it just gets all the kind of, these are the basic things around here. It isn't the district-specific thing, it would be what I call general standards. And maybe some use-specific standards. Oftentimes we write it in there. The one use-specific standard that we really see are around home occupations. So again, Vermont says if you have a house, you get to have a home occupation. That can't mess with that. But it also says that home occupation basically has to not change the character of the area and be residential use. And so what most towns do is they write a box around home occupations. The only clear statutory box is that it has to be less than the square footage of the house. But there are some things that most towns write, and so I'll put those in there next time. So this is a preview of next time around. And typically towns regulate how many people can work there, hours of operation a little bit, and whether they can store stuff outside or not. And because they decide if it goes this big, it's no longer residential nature for our purposes, and we think it's too much. It changes the character. Typically we see exterior storage as a break point on that. And usually it's around 3 or 4 or 5 people outside the home working there. And usually there's some middle of the night hours of operation that people care about. So those things.
Another thing is, number of vehicles parked on the property.
Number of vehicles. The issue on number of vehicles, and you may have this a good amount in your town, I don't know. We see it in some towns, Barnum especially, is property maintenance, home occupations. So I run a property maintenance business. I've got 12 mowers, or 3 excavators, or some gear and some stuff. And then I usually have like a pile of gravel, or some odds and ends out back. At what point do we care about that type of thing? Oftentimes, it's if all the gravel's behind your building and nobody can see it, we don't care. And oftentimes, there's a certain number of vehicles where you can, the guys don't drive the trucks there and drive away, but if I'm, at a tree company and I've got 5 bucket trucks out back, I'm over. So something on that.
Or another one is if you have a small auto repair business, you have 3 vehicles parked there that are parts cars, you have 4 more that are customers' cars, plus your own vehicle, and you have your parts truck, you run parts with, your wife's vehicle over there, and
That's up.
yeah, I run my father into that.
Yeah. And so usually there'll be, again, like here, there'll be some judgment call and you'll go, no, not that you can't do it, but you need a permit. Over here, you're just a home occupation because nobody gets a permit necessarily for a home occupation. That's the other thing is you can decide. You can't prohibit them, but you can make them get a permit. I suggest that towns make them get a permit, but you don't have to. And that's because Andre, I picked on Andre just because he's close.
I'm actually 50, I'm good.
Okay. Kate,
Going through that deal.
I'll pick on Kate for a second. So Kate has a home occupation. She has 2 people working there. She comes in, we say, well, you don't have a permanent home occupation. So you have a house, you get a home occupation. Off you go. Kate hires 3 more people.
She's really successful.
She's really successful. She says, John told me I don't need a permit for my home occupation. What John never told her is, at 3, you need a permit. Or, so something, and that's why we say always run them through a permit, because then they know the rules and they're not surprised later.
Yeah, but
Yes.
what if we come up with a document?
Yeah.
Like this one, and then 2 years from now we say, oh my God, we should have changed,
Yes.
dropped some things or add things. What's the process of doing that?
Great question. There are 2 processes. Actually, there are 3, I should say. One is that there's just a hole, it's a gray area in the bylaw. We never define something that we should have defined. And the AO can't figure it out, and it goes to the DRB, and the DRB decides, it's like useless, let's say, useless. Let's say you said pizza parlors are a thing, and roller rinks are a thing. I'm dating myself. But the kind of pizza parlor or roller rink thing we never defined. Like, what's this weird thing in between? And they decide, okay, it's over here. That you just do, and my suggestion to towns is you write memos. You kind of decide, well, we're going to put it in this box. We're going to define it this way. Don't need to rewrite your bylaw. Just treat everybody the same. Do that. The next thing is, oh, we really forgot something. We need to put it in the bylaw. You can do it exactly. The process is the same as from this. You have a hearing, select board has a hearing, you adopt. But typically, if it's like something everybody agrees on, and you just want to get it done fast, you can do an interim adoption, which is good for 2 years, while you get around to doing it for real. And so and that just requires a select board hearing, and you can do it in a month. And so we typically see that when something comes up and all of a sudden, they're like, I can't believe you guys go through the whole permit for this. And they change the bylaw real fast. And then you go and do the formal process. So those are the 3 ways.
Plus the pizza place that's there, you really can't have now.
That's a non-conforming, pre-existing non-conforming. get to go.
And then this is where one of my big issues with zoning came about. And I witnessed this when I was a child. My father wanted to add on to his garage. He was a mechanic, been a mechanic for, I don't know, dozens of years. And he helped friends out once in a while in his own garage and stuff, and it was pretty small, and he wanted to move around. So he wanted to add on his garage. The person he worked for, as a mechanic, had a lot of pull in town. And he pulled some strings, and the zoning board got a permit denied, and they had no reason to deny it. There was absolutely no rule he was breaking by adding this much on his garage and all that, but political pull was able to deny his permit. He got a lawyer. This was back in the 70s. It cost him $1,000 before he was done with the lawyer and all the garbage. And the day that they were supposed to show up in court, the town realized they had no case. They just called him and said, "Your permit's ready for you, come get it." He was out $1,000 in a year's wait. That was right.
And that's,
But the problem was, in this process, my mother went down to the zoning board to get the permit and all this stuff, and this and that and everything. And she was out in the zoning board meetings, and they were looking over another plan before they got to her case. And someone wanted to build a house, and it was on the road or something, I don't know what it was, but there was someone across the road that this person on the zoning board knew. Well, they wanted to put their driveway in right here. Coming off the driveway right in their house. I know this guy over here, he doesn't want to look at their driveway all the time. So do we have a rule that says we can say where the driveway goes? No, we don't have that in the bylaws. I vote that we can add this in the bylaws right here and now. Boom, okay, it's in, all in favor, aye, we have it. Okay, now, we're gonna tell him he's gotta put the driveway in. You're just gonna cost him another $3,000 to put the driveway in the front.
and that's what we do. We do a training to towns, explicitly telling them, you can't do that. If you do that, you'll end up in court. If you do that, not only will you end up in court, you can get civilly sued because
The town doesn't want to.
and don't do it, because
My point was, once zoning gets in, they make their own rules.
no,
That was what
No.
we were witnessing.
but my advice to towns is we can't worry about operator error. We have to assume people are gonna follow rules when we write the rules, and there's no rule that says, oh, by the way, follow these rules. You know, it's self-evident that you're supposed to follow the rules. Towns in Vermont are very responsive to voters because you know where everybody lives, and they can vote you out if you don't follow the rules. And so follow the rules.
Could I please ask that you send that out again? I can't seem to find it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I will send this out again because it's got the typos fixed.
Thank you.
It's got the new part, it's got the part. And the way to always check will be, it'll always have a header or a footer.
On the draft, yes.
That has a date on it. So if it doesn't have a recent date, you can probably look at the whole version.
Thank you.
Would it be possible, I can get a copy of that, or is that just something that's going to the?
Just ask them, they can,
No, it's
They
part
would
of,
email.
it's part of the public record.
yeah.
So I'm gonna make a
We don't
motion.
send it to private individuals, but the town certainly does. Okay. All right, so we are done.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I try not to be a pain in the butt.
Thank you for coming.
Did I stop?
I just had to
sharing,
concern.
or you stopped recording?
No, just stop. You just,
I stopped it.
oh, okay.
I don't like to have to be.
You need a motion to adjourn?
We got,
one. Oh, I didn't hear that.
I didn't,
That's because he asked me. Oh, second. Oh, okay.
we're adjourned
Okay.
at 8:14. Hey, Dan, send me a note with anything you want on this, okay?
I appreciate your efficiency. Good.